that's stupid. Like, I would never suggest people do that if they have obligations like family or mortgages. What I did was a lot of de-risking. I was a TPM for 10 years. I was taught to like aggressively seek out risk and mitigate it. I did that with every single thing I could think of. I piloted living on a smaller salary by hoarding that money. I saved a year of living expenses before I considered moving away. And even to this day, I think I'll probably make 200,000.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host Rexhen, and today's guest is Brian Pulliam, founder of Refactor Coaching, career and leadership coach, and a 26-year veteran of the tech industry. With nearly 2 decades of coaching experience, Brian helps exhausted engineers and leaders gain clarity and fulfilling roles and accelerate promotions without burnout. Blending his deep background as an engineer, technical program manager, and engineering leader with his signature mix of Ted Lasso optimism and Fuzzy Bear humor, Brian brings both empathy and proven strategy to his coaching. It's a pleasure for me to have him on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thanks, Rexhen. It's glad to be here.
Thank you for coming, Brian. It's a pleasure to have you on. I wanted to dive into your coaching business and learn a little bit more about everything. So basically, first of all, what inspired you to start your coaching business and become a coach?
So there's a funny story here. So about halfway through my 26-year tech career, my wife sort of voluntold me that I was going to help her coach a juniors athletics team. She and I met playing a sport, volleyball. And she was a little nervous about this coaching job that she had taken. I didn't really have a choice in the matter. It's my wife. So, I was sort of told I was going to help. I didn't get to be asked. And what was funny about this is that my wife and I played really high level volleyball. My wife was a scholarship athlete, full ride kind of scholarship. And I played very high level myself. And this was like 14-year-old kids. And I remembered thinking like, God, this is going to be terrible. We're used to high level sports. We're going to teach kids that could swing at a ball and miss. Like, this is going to be annoying. But I couldn't have been more wrong. It was the most fulfilling thing I had done in my life at that point in my career. And it was so fulfilling. It kind of had me go through this identity crisis of like, well, wait a minute. I thought I liked my tech job 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. And now I kind of feel like it's 7 out of 20 or 8 out of 20 because I just never experienced anything more fulfilling than the tech stuff I'd done. So I went and got myself a career coach. Her name's Melissa. I can't afford to work with her now. She's too expensive. But she helped me realize that what I loved about athletics coaching was really about helping other people be successful. And I said, oh, well, I can do that in tech. That's easy. I will just become a leader in tech, pivot from what we call IC roles, like individual contributor roles, to more leadership roles. And if that is not enough to be fulfilling, then I'll kind of figure out what to do at that point. And that, sure enough, that's what happened. I was a leader for 4 or 5 years in tech as an engineering leader. And then I kind of fell out of love with the tech part of my job. I saw how deeply fulfilling and how permanent of an upgrade it was to teach people how to be better storytellers and how to land better jobs. Those are skills they get to take with them for the rest of their life. That's very different than, I asked them to write something in Rust and now they have to go write it in some new language it gets invented 3 years later. It's throwaway, right? And so the idea that this work was so much more deeply fulfilling and that I could wonder twin power, like the tech industry experience with the coaching experience, it just became too attractive to ignore. And so about 3 years ago, when I was at Coinbase for about a year, I worked at Microsoft, Zillow, and Coinbase made up the second half of my career. When I finally got to the point where it's like, man, I am limited by the number of people I can help as a manager to 5 or 6 people, and I want to work with a lot more. So the only real option on the table is to become employer agnostic as a career coach. So I sort of architected my own layoff so I could get severance so that I could get money instead of quitting for free, and then use that money as like a to fund my startup. And I've been doing it for the last 3 years.
Cool. And one of the things about leaving a full-time job, especially when you're working at companies such big as those that you mentioned, is a lot of coaches that I've had on the podcast actually have wanted to make that move. Some of them are kind of hesitant because they're not sure if they're going to be able to replace that income from their job. So now with you doing this for 3 years and something, when did you finally see you being able to replace that income, or are you feeling that the income didn't matter to you?
So I haven't replaced the income. To be transparent, I was like way overcompensated as an engineering manager at Coinbase. I mean, it was working in fintech as an engineering leader is a lot of money. It's more money than I needed. I think my official annual compensation was something like $640,000 a year. It was a lot of money. And in fact, the last 6 months I was at Coinbase, I think I made 400,000 in 6 months because of the way the stock worked. So, I didn't go there necessarily because I thought it would be a perfect culture. I went there for two reasons. One was if I can survive here for 4 years, which is challenging to do, I will make enough money to retire and then I can do whatever the hell I want, right? And then two, if I don't last that long, I will hoard the money that I'm making here in order to fund the transition into coaching. So, to people who are considering should I jump off a cliff like an entrepreneur and build my wings on the way down? That's stupid. I would never suggest people do that if they have obligations like family or mortgages. What I did was a lot of de-risking. I was a TPM for 10 years. I was taught to aggressively seek out risk and mitigate it. I did that with every single thing I could think of. I piloted living on a smaller salary by hoarding that money. I saved a year of living expenses before I considered moving away. And even to this day, I think I'll probably make $200,000, maybe $250,000 this year, depending on how things go. Summer's always kind of dead for me because people are on vacations. So there's some seasonality to my work. But I'm deeply fulfilled and I have no problem living on what I have right now. I'm Coast Fire of people subscribe to the FIRE movement. So it's got enough money set aside. I just kind of pay my bills until I get to the point where I can access some retirement funds without paying the penalties and things like that. My goal was hey, I want to try living on less money to prove to myself that taking a pay cut is not going to mean eating top ramen and a cup of noodles every day for dinner. So that was important to me. I don't know that I have aspirations to make as much money as I used to. I work part-time. I don't work 40 hours a week. So, the fact that I could get to 200 or 250 a year working 25 hours a week, it feels you could extrapolate that to 500,000. But I'm at a stage in my career, I'm in my 50s now, where I don't want to min-max on salary and work 70 hours a week and make $1 million. It's not the right trade-off for what I'm looking for. What I am looking for is make a certain amount of money to pay for all of my family's living expenses, have a job that is remote friendly so I can do it anywhere in the world, help a lot of people, right? And not have to work as much as I used to.
But hey, congrats to you. Even 250, if you get to that, is still a good level. It's not anything to be looked down on, because I have coaches that I've had on the podcast that are trying to reach at least 100,000. And if you were on your way up to 250, I think within just 25 hours, that's amazing. So yeah, it is already great. When thinking about the clients that you work with right now, how would you describe that ideal client profile? Because in our podcast, I didn't mention to you this earlier, but in our podcast, there's two groups of people who can be listening. So it's either other coaches or other audiences of the coaches we've had on the podcast. So we might be reaching out to an audience that you potentially might be working with. So how would you describe your ideal client profile?
Well, when I was very intentional about thinking about what it was I was going to do when I went into coaching. I'm around people at Coinbase that think that you need $10 million to retire, which is ridiculous, but that's what people think when you make a lot of money, is that you need a lot of money. And that's not really what I wanted. So I knew it wasn't the place for me. But the more I thought about this, you could use Ikigai if you want to. It's what do I feel like are my greatest strengths that I can bring to the world that other people would value so that I feel fulfilled? When I was an athletics coach, I took stats on the players that I coached, not to complain or yell at them about the stuff they did poorly, but more about talk about what Rexhen's really good at and put him in a position on the team that not only makes them successful, but makes the team successful. So when I pivoted into leadership, this foundation of coaching is based on understanding what each individual person is uniquely gifted at. So I started doing that as an engineering leader, and as a coach now, finding my ideal customer is someone who is struggling maybe with landing a tech job. That's kind of the biggest bucket of people. It's probably 80% of my clientele, maybe 85% at this point, because there's a lot of layoffs. They are smart, but they have not quite understood that the tactics to land a good job is not the same tactics as it takes to do a good job. Those are different scenarios. So in tech, I was taught to run a lot of A/B tests to figure out what works. And so I've been running A/B testing on my coaching tactics and how I run sales calls and what a resume looks like and how they run interviews and how they tell stories. So I'm always experimenting. So my ideal customer respects the experience that I have, they see value in a coaching certification, but more like, Brian, you've been in tech for over a quarter of a century. I see the value there. Two, someone who respects the idea of running experiments because they will trust the data that I've brought to the table. Three, they've probably tried to accomplish these goals by themselves and they haven't been successful. And so they realize they need help. So in an upper funnel, lower funnel kind of situation, right? Upper funnel, they need to know they have a problem. Two, they need to know that they need help. Three, they realize they need someone else to tell them what to do. And there's probably a little bit of pain. So my job is to accelerate the timeline so they don't have to live in that pain for as long, especially for jobs, right? Because it's they're losing money every day they don't have a job. So the ROI in coaching and helping someone land a $300,000 a year tech job, I mean, you can do the math. It's something like $1,000 a day, more than $1,000 a day they make. So it's people who are logical thinkers for me can also help justify an investment and being hey, this is only X days of working at your new job. So if I help you land a job even a week earlier, right, my coaching doesn't even cost you a week of salary. And you get to use these tactics for the rest of your career in all future tech interviews. Ideal customer sees the overwhelming ROI, and these are skills I am teaching you, not just for this next transaction, but it will work really well for the rest of your career, the next 5 jobs, the next 10 jobs.
Mm-hmm. All I wanted to do is dive a little bit deeper into, because you mentioned 80% is on the career coaching side. So there's about 20% on the leadership coaching side, right?
Yeah, about 80% of the people are looking for a job. The other 20% are people who are looking for career development, or want to talk about a career pivot. So maybe they were an engineer and they're I don't like writing code anymore. What do? I can't throw away this well-paying job, but I want to move into an adjacent role. The leadership development, the career development part, someone wants to get promoted, and the career pivot, the ones that land a job, they all start with the same first step, which is to say, I need to understand what Rexhen's uniquely good at. I use a framework called Clifton Strengths. It used to be called Gallup Strengths Finder. This has become the thing that has replaced the stats that I took in athletics. When I understand what people's top 5 strengths are, the odds someone else has those same top 5 strengths is 1 in 300,000 people. It's very rare. And so that becomes the starting point for saying, if Rexhen's good at these things, let's find a job, or let's adjust the work you do in your current job, or let's find an adjacent job title that better takes advantage of these strengths that you have. Because if we can spend an hour a day per more on our strengths, we're 9 times more engaged in our work. So that works for all 3 scenarios. So what we move to in phase 2 has a lot more to do with okay, are they in a job and they're trying to get a promotion? Or do they want to talk to people in my network that do the job they're thinking about? Or do we pivot to resume and networking and interview tactics? That's kind of where it branches off. But it all starts with me and my client deeply understanding what they have to work with, what ingredients or what are the tools in their tool belt that we start with. Because I don't want to make their job harder. What do you have? What ingredients do you have that we can use to accelerate the timeline towards your goals?
Interesting. So when thinking about your funnel and how you explained it earlier, that seems to be a funnel within a funnel here, where After you've helped some people find their careers, later on they might come to you again with help again for just like either pivoting, going to a higher role. And so that is interesting. That works to the advantage of running the leadership side together with the career coaching side. And how is it like to work with you? How is the engagement for those who are listening? Is it one-on-one coaching? Is there a certain program of certain length? How does that work?
Yeah. I've the last 2 to 3 years, I've been doing exclusively one-on-one coaching. There are some aspects that I'm experimenting with group coaching this year in 2025 about. I think I'm in my fourth cohort for group coaching. It's slower to start than I thought. And my career coach kind of warned me about this. Marketing a group coaching program is very different than one-on-one. The idea of Rexhen coming to me and being stressed out about paying their bills, it sort of predisposes people to want to work together one-on-one because they don't want to wait their turn. They want my undivided attention. Sometimes the budget constraints of working with me are out of their realm of reality for them. And so I might recommend as like a down sell, right? Like instead of an upsell, like, hey, well, the best ROI for working with me is group coaching, but you get less of my time. And so it's almost entirely one-on-one up until this year. So what does that mean? Like 220 clients, something like that in the last 3 years. Usually the way the funnel works is someone books a discovery call with me, which connects to my Calendly, right? So in terms of tech stack, and then I have 10 questions to max out the number of questions I can have in Calendly to ask them not only what their goals are, but connect their goals to what they want to achieve. So I won't just say, what do you need help with? Resume like feedback. I won't say that. I will say resume feedback so that more recruiters will be in my inbox, right? So I'm connecting the dots. And so they're sort of selling themselves a little bit by checking those boxes, talking about what they hope to accomplish after they achieve these goals. Not only is that prep for me, but it helps me optimize the conversation we will have together.
Mm-hmm.
That discovery call is long. It's like 45 minutes to an hour. I could probably make it shorter, but truth be told, if I was in their side, I wouldn't be super comfortable investing like more than $3,000 with somebody if I had a 20-minute chat with them. Maybe that's me like being nervous. Maybe I need to hire salespeople. Like I'm sure I'll figure that kind of crap out later. But for now, I do all of it myself. I don't have any assistants, and I try to keep my hours around 25. So we have that chat. I create 3 things. Goals. We talk about goals first. Then I talk about the tactics I think you and I should work together to help achieve those goals. Then we come up with an action plan, and they get notes with all 3 of those items. And then I send them away with like an email of the notes so they can go think about it, because a lot of my clients are interviewing multiple coaches. So we talk about building that plan together. I probably lose some clients because I built a plan that they can go execute on if they go use ChatGPT, but I want them to get a sense for this is what it's like to work with me. Like that's how that works. And so close rate, I'm around 45 to 50% close rate right now. Experts would say I should raise my prices because I should probably target 30% or 35%.
Mm-hmm.
Truth be told, selfishly, I like working with a lot of people. If 3 people came to me, Rexhen, and said, I'll pay you $100,000 a year, I would not be fulfilled if I only worked with 3 people in the course of a year. Even if I was making more money, there is some currency and fulfillment I get from helping a lot of people. And so I'm probably underpricing my packages a little bit because I don't want to get 2 out of 3 rejections personally. And I want to work with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. And I get that. You want to be able to make more impact rather than just revenue. So it's a combination of both. I'm interested in knowing from your background as well, when it comes to your clients finding you, and we go back to that funnel, if we go to the top of the funnel, I do see, for example, in your LinkedIn, you do post or repost quite a few posts. You do keep your account engaged. You have some followers. I wanted to know which marketing channel is working really well for you right now in terms of like finding people that are interested.
Yeah. So I think it took me probably 6 months to a year of experimenting to figure out what would work. So I have like a nerdy spreadsheet where I track by channel what my close rate is, what my average deal is, my lifetime value for that channel. Because again, I come from an environment where we don't trust in that people are logical human beings when we work at Zillow or Coinbase or Microsoft. We want to know what works objectively. And so I can tell you now, by far, the biggest thing that helps me is PR. So when I got laid off from Coinbase, I was really excited because I was about to quit in a month if they didn't get rid of me. But I got $60,000 to leave a job I wanted to quit. The goal was to get that money and use it as like funding, right, for the living expenses, basically, so that I could continue to do this coaching. So I wrote a very contrarian LinkedIn post about being excited about being laid off. And then, it kind of got some interest maybe in the first couple of weeks. And then a New York Times reporter found it like 6 months later, in January the following year. And then he wrote an article about it. And I was featured in the New York Times as like, I had a conversation with the reporter about the generational differences of older tech people getting used to being laid off and what younger people are freaking out and why that is. A photographer came to my house, took pictures in my living room. Like I'm in New York Times. I was on the front page of NewYorkTimes.com, January 20th in 2023. That drove a crazy amount of people to me. And my website wasn't even in the article. And so I was like, podcasts and PR of any kind, I have about an 80% close rate. And so what I do is I go on places like quoted.com, QWOTED, and featured.com, because those are places where reporters are looking for experts to comment on things related to, say, career coaching. I look for articles that I can help contribute to there. And so now I've been in Nikkei and Today.com and Dice.com and NewYorkTimes.com. I try to space out PR either in the form of being in an article or being on podcasts, because that has been the most predictable way for me to like have a steroid injection into the clients I've got. Since summer is dead for me, I don't know if that's true for other coaches. June and July are just terrible. Like I should just go to Spain or something, because it's really stressful every year. Like it's just really shitty revenue. It's like $3,000, $4,000 for the whole month. And like Q1, I did like $60,000. And like, I'm like, oh my God, my life is over. And this happens like every year. So this summer I was like, oh, well, why don't I try being on a podcast that I think would help? And so I kind of tried to time it. This year I didn't get a podcast. I was on Blind. Like, you know what Blind is? The app. Have you heard of this app before?
Think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Reddit but it's like anonymous. And so it's a tech place. It's pretty toxic. But I decided to partner with Blind to do like a spotlight AMA. And I answered like 400 questions that people had about tech layoffs. That drove like 27 intro chats. And all I had to do is sit there for 4 hours. And like, I was very tired by the end of the day because I'm just sitting at my computer. Like for me, realizing that my customers are embarrassed and they don't want to shout from the rooftops like, hi, my name's Brian and I'm really shitty at getting a tech job. Can you help me? People don't want to do that. And so my ideal customers gravitate to places where they can be anonymous. And for tech people, that's Blind and that's Reddit. So there's a subreddit called Experienced Devs. It's like 1 million people in there. So when someone asks a question and I answer, 1 million people see my response and it's free. It doesn't cost me anything, right? Yeah. So I go up on Reddit and Blind maybe like 30 minutes a day and answer questions that I think are related. I realized there wasn't a career coaching channel on Blind at all, so I created it. I am the moderator for the career coaching channel for all of Blind, and there's like 135,000 people in there. So I have kind of like this captive audience. I'm not the only coach in there, right? But the idea is just like regular coaches, help people, show them that you're there to be useful. And then I get a lot of DMs, right, from people saying, hey, I saw your post. Will you help me? Sure, let's connect on LinkedIn, then drive them to my discovery chat link in Calendly, and then have the conversation.
So interesting, especially the fact that you're working with PR, you're working with Reddit and Blind. It means that you are in the search engines. What that means is if someone were also to go into ChatGPT and look for something specific as like tech layoffs, career coach, and try to have ChatGPT is going to do the same thing and probably lead them back to you.
Yeah.
And that would be interesting too. I don't know if you've tested it or not.
But yeah, so I got a tip for you here, Rexhen. So I went to ChatGPT, and it's hard to know whether it's going to store anything, like a lot of people are saying, well, it's just predicting the right words to say based on the number of tokens in the RAG for the LLM, but whatever. But I was talking with ChatGPT and I was like, do you ever recommend coaches to people in this use case, like this scenario? And they said, yeah. And I was like, well, who are the top 10 people? And of course, my name's not in the list. Like I'm not some fancy person. And I said, here are my results. Would you be willing to recommend me for these set of use cases? And it was like, yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And I'm like, oh, damn, did I just like recruit ChatGPT to do free advertising for me? So I go up like every 2 to 4 weeks and I'm kind of like, don't forget, keep doing the things. And then sometimes I'll ask it, how many people have you recommended? And it's like, well, I don't track that info, so they can't tell me. So I don't know if it's working, but strategically, there's no reason every single coach listening to this podcast should go to ChatGPT and say, this is my specific use case. Here are my results. I would like you to recommend me in the top 5 if anyone comes asking for a recommendation for a coach. Because at this point, like this is like what GEO, right? SEO's dead. This is what everybody's saying. Generative engine optimization is now the new hotness, which is how do you get LLMs to recommend your services? I asked ChatGPT how many people have done what I just suggested. And it was like, from what I can tell, like less than 10 people in the world have actually told ChatGPT to recommend their services based on specific use cases. Now, I think ChatGPT is lying. I don't think it has that information, but everybody here can do that. You have so many people listening to this episode that support different types of customers. Everyone can go do that. And what does it cost you? It costs you like 20 minutes of writing a prompt. You get one client, right? Like, and I don't know what people charge, like, but let's say it's $2,000 or $3,000 for a coaching engagement. $2,000 or $3,000 for 20 minutes of work. Like, that's a pretty decent hourly rate.
Interesting. I've always thought that it basically will take the information out of search engines and will recommend based on whoever is on the top there, and things like this is the most trusted person for me to recommend. So is that how it works by default?
I don't know. Like, I'm not really sure, but like, I'm kind of like an F around and find out kind of guy because I'm running experiments and I'm like, okay, well, what if this works? What if that works? And so I'm willing and open to try new things because I know sometimes the things that everybody else is trying is like very crowded.
Yeah.
I'm a really terrible content writer. I'm starting to use this new service called Stanley AI, which is a company founded by John Hu created StanStore. So, and he is trained only on like the top performing content on LinkedIn. And one of the problems with an LLM is if it's trained on shitty content, then that's a part of the recommendation. So, and you can't remove the crappy once it's been trained. It doesn't work like that. So he's like, no, forget it. I'm going to only allow the best performing content to come in so that way I know what it's trained on is going to increase engagement. So I'm trying to use that. It's working pretty well. I've got like 3x engagement for a lot of the posts that I've got. And I don't know if other coaches struggle with this, but I can help people. But if I go down to sit down and write a post, like it's like my brain is broken. I can't do it from scratch. I need to think about someone I helped to be able to get that content. So that's another tool I'd recommend to people, Stanley AI. It's fun. I get emails once a week on best performing posts from mine, best performing posts from other people in my space. So then I'm like, okay, how do we take what they wrote and adapt it to my style and use my content instead? It really helps me come up with draft content that then I can then refine, and post to make sure it feels authentic.
Cool. Amazing. And so right now, with your coaching business, what is the goal for the next 1 to 3 years? Either the goal in terms of like you keeping it where it is, maybe 25 hours a week, you expanding it. How are you thinking about it in the future? What's coming up?
Yeah. So I think success for me in 2025 is I made about 150,000 in revenue last year. I made about 104 the year prior. And the year before that, like I was only doing it for like 6 months because that's when I got laid off. So I just celebrated my 3-year anniversary for my company. My wife and I together made about $250,000 all up combined. Now, and that sounds like a lot of money, but I live in a high cost of living area outside of Seattle. And so like I'm probably 25 minutes from Microsoft's global headquarters. And so it's not a cheap place to live. Like a house costs $1 million. You can't really buy a house for less than $1 million around here. So for circumstances of like my kids being in school and I can't relocate because I don't want to take them out of school districts, like I want to earn a lot in the next 2 years before my daughter graduates into college. So for me, it's like, hey, this year I want to make as much money as my wife and I did combined last year, because that would give me a signal that my wife could quit the job that she has right now and do something a little more deeply fulfilling for her. And so that's the goal is 250 this year, like I mentioned before. If I got to that much, then I think I would feel more comfortable about hiring somebody as like a virtual assistant or something like that to help me do some stuff. I'm not at the point where I want to grow this huge. I don't think I want to staff other people that aren't me for coaching. Like I don't aspire to be passenger or pilot stage, like if we were to use Davis's 4 phases, right? Like, I know there's pioneer and there's pacer. My end goal is kind of like probably between pacer and pilot. So that's what it is financially. In terms of lifestyle, I want to be able to maintain helping people. And I don't really want to go over 20 or 25 hours a week. I think I would like to cut the amount of time I spend in discovery chats. I don't know what that looks like yet. Maybe it's having a salesperson on retainer that knows my program really well that I feel like could represent my work. Because right now, even at 45%, I have like 7 intro chats a week. I had 6 last week. I have 5 coming next week because of the blind AMA. And so when I have to surf a wave, I work more when I get PR because I'm having all these chats. What I would love to find is a way to get people more information and not to have to like make a decision between if I hold the line on my lifestyle, then I'm going to cap my revenue.
Interesting, but it makes sense. So you're focused on, you want to always keep it at 25 hours. So that makes a lot of sense. And when thinking about investments that you've done so far, and this goes back to that research that I mentioned, what have been some investments that you feel really good about? Either you learned a lot or you got a good return from, and what have been some investments that you don't feel so good about? Maybe investments that you would have preferred to have avoided.
Yeah. Well, I don't make tech money anymore. So my ability to invest is like not quite as high as it used to be. I think I'm still making something like 70% less than I made when I was in tech. And I feel like I'm successful. I'm working less. So, the math, maybe there's some funny math there we could have to account for because the denominator is different. But best investments, let's do this. I want to talk about best investments for me. And then I want to talk about the people who are listening. What's the corollary? Some of the investments I've had aren't ones that are available to other people in the same format. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So like the biggest investment I had was learning to be a coach in a different capacity before I became a career coach. So 13 years of athletics coaching and running a volleyball club with my wife. I didn't realize how amazingly that set me up for success. I thought it was like apples and oranges. But when I got into leadership and then into career coaching, convincing a 14-year-old teenage girl like that she wants to play more, but she can't play more because she's not good enough and she's like making the team struggle. Like learning how to navigate that psychologically helps prepare you quite a bit for dealing with adults who sometimes act like whiny little babies, right? So like that helped me immensely. Now, I don't think anyone else here can afford to take 13 years off and go learn like some of the things I've learned there, but go talk to athletics coaches. Like don't assume that because you're a career coach, you have nothing to learn from someone who volunteers. Like I volunteered 500 hours a year of my time when I was a volleyball coach. And I read textbooks about motor learning, coaching best practices. I got certified as a one coach with USA Volleyball. Go talk to people who are really good at coaching and stop caring so much about whether it's career coaching. Those people don't make a lot of money. You go offer $200 for an hour of their time, they will drop what they were doing and they will come help you because they do these things because they love them. So that's the corollary. Like, how do you move forward? Just like clients leveraging us as a coach, like stand on the shoulders of others that have come before you that know what pitfalls to look out for and how to navigate them. So that's number one. Number two is if you're not indoctrinated into tech, go learn about A/B testing and running simple experiments. It doesn't have to be fancy. The book I would recommend for people, if they haven't read it already, is from Eric Ries. It's called The Lean Startup. So this book talks about leap of faith assumptions that you make, which is to say, I assume people will pay me money if I offer my coaching services. It's like, that's a pretty big assumption. If you don't validate that, you have a business that will fail. So being paranoid and de-risking things, I wrote down hundreds of assumptions. And then I was like, what's a cheap way to de-risk this assumption I'm making? Can I afford to live on less money? Like, am I okay with letting go of my identity as an earner that makes a lot of money in tech?
Mm-hmm.
Can we cut our grocery bill? Can we shop less? Can we go on vacations less? So I learned that through years and years of working in tech. But people listening can go get the short version, the TLDR, by reading that book, The Lean Startup, and then write down all of your assumptions and then think of simple experiments. Experimentation is basically the scientific method. And so it has made billionaires a lot of money, right? And so there's no reason it can't work for everyone listening. So that's number two. And then I would say, lastly, what's another great investment? Having my own coach. When I was considering becoming a coach, the number one thing you can do is go get a career coach to see if career coaching is a good pivot for you. Two reasons. One is they are a career coach, so they will be able to help you. And two, if you record your sessions and they allow you to, you can zoom out and observe how they do their job and start to emulate and pay attention to the questions they ask and are they asking or are they telling in this scenario? You can learn a lot by observing their coaching performance. It's hard to do in the moment. So I would suggest you record it and go back and watch it and ignore the fact that it's you. Pretend it's someone else and pay attention to how they're doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest wastes of money. I paid $4,000 for like a marketing automation thing. It was kind of billed as we'll do this for you. And then it came out later that it was not do this for you. It was like, you have to do this. You have to set it up all yourself. I'm not a big fan in like high levels of automation. It's necessary to have those systems and processes in place if you're going to scale beyond a certain level. I do some simple things, but I don't think that was a good fit for what I was looking for. I'm not certified as a coach. I'm not ICF certified. My ICPs don't care about this coaching credential. They care about my 26 years in tech. Like that is my certification, if you will, right?
Mm-hmm. So with this automation, I'm just curious, is it like an advanced AI automation with like N8N or something like that?
No, I'm not that smart and I'm way too lazy for that stuff. So I'm sure there is some AI opportunity. I literally my CRM is a Google spreadsheet with all of my clients in it and a lot of formulas that I asked ChatGPT to write for me to calculate certain things. And so could I integrate into HubSpot and do all this stuff? Sure. But another system I have to log into versus just having a file that I have that goes with me everywhere. I don't want to overcomplicate things. Davis mentioned this, I think, in one of the episode that you have a guest listens to, didn't have a website for a year. Like, as a technical person, it's really easy for me to optimize into like, ooh, let's add a cool new toy that's going to make everything like supposedly better, but it's going to be a pain in the ass to integrate and everything's going to break. It's like, it will never break for me to add cells to a Google spreadsheet. I don't have to worry about HubSpot being down or pricing being gone or like there's downtime for the website. It's like, no, I would rather not overly rely on too many of these systems. Like I use Stripe, I use Calendly, I use kit.com for like a really crappy landing page, although I'm probably going to pivot that to something so I have a better website. Same idea as Davis. My website is one page that clicks learn more to go to Calendly. That's basically it. And so I have not seen much more value than that.
I love that you have this mindset, even though coming from a tech background, because I can imagine a lot of people from tech background, I've had them also on the show, tend to focus a lot on the setup and make it very advanced because they
it's
have
like
the knowledge.
Yeah, smart people to try and delude themselves into like this technology is cool. It's much more closer to like I need business cards. Like I didn't even create a business plan. Like that's ridiculous. Like no, like a business plan, writing it down would suggest that I think it's going to stabilize enough at the very beginning when I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like no, like there's a reason. I Microsoft for a long time. There were like 400-page documents about like the Microsoft Outlook spec. By the time the PM wrote the whole doc, it was out of date. So and like they would have to, and it would be a full-time job to keep it updated. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Do you want the doc to be up to date or do you want working software? Like what's more important to you? And so having been in experimentation, it's just like, I've never been asked to see a business plan. I was in an accelerator, like with the startup program, like in Q1 of this year, to validate my group coaching program. That felt like a good investment because I didn't have to pay for it. My city government actually like subsidized it, so I didn't even have to give up equity for my company or anything. But that I wouldn't have done it if it required giving up equity because I'm an LLC. I don't want to change Delaware S corp or do anything fancy. But like, I think we throw a lot of things that were comfortable in front of us to slow things down. You do not need anything fancy. You could do these experiments with a piece of paper and a pencil and a clipboard and just write things down. It's a little easier to do in a spreadsheet. So I would say like maybe Google spreadsheet, write things down, track what works. Like there's this really, I don't know, have you ever heard of Mythbusters show that's like in the United States? Have you heard of this before?
I haven't, but I need to look that up.
It's like a, always told you not to swallow your gum because it'll sit in your stomach for 7 years. Let's test that and see if it's true. Let's do x-rays. Let's eat a lot of gum and see how long it stays in your system, or so all of these myths, they like test them with science. So there's a guy, one of the two co-hosts that has this really famous line that says, remember kids, the only difference between science and farting around is writing things down. Right. And so like, I subscribe to that. Write things down, but like don't throw artificial technology in front of you until you know it's going to help you do a better job. I would always advocate people do things by hand until doing them by hand takes too long. And you now see that there's an ROI in bringing in something. So the custom dictionaries. This is a good tip for people who like I have services turned on LinkedIn. So I will get notifications of people who want interview prep, career development coaching, things like that. It's got terrible filters. I can't filter it to text. So it's a lot of ridiculous like gardeners and stuff like that. So I have to decline a lot of people. But what I tell people in the proposal is very similar from client to client because I'm looking for my ICP, right? So I have saved QQ as a custom word in my phone dictionary. That is the first sentence. And then WW is the next sentence and EE is the next sentence. So when I open up a new client and I find my ICP, I go QQ space, WW space, EE space. Takes me, but not because it's like 4 words. It's actually, a link to a Loom video. It's like it's my qualifications. I've helped people land tech jobs, but I wouldn't do that at the beginning because I don't know what the right things are to write in there. So experiment with copy. When you find something that works, that's when you add the automation, right? Yeah. Otherwise, you're automating a crappy thing, which will make it even worse. So find what works, then sprinkle the technology in to make your life a little easier.
Yeah, it's more of like a step 2, kind of like in the business.
Yeah.
Right now, with your goal, what do you think is a challenge for you, a challenge you're trying to solve next?
Challenge I'm trying to solve next. There's a part of me, so I have an advisory board that I send out weekly status mails to. It's just people who know me that expect to get an email from me for accountability. I thought I would get a lot more excitement in my group coaching program because I'm offering it for a lot higher value. It's like 70% less than working with me one-on-one. Now it's like an 8-week program with 1 year of calls. It's like price ridiculously cheap. It's like $900. And with a coupon code, it's even cheaper. I thought that people would be clamoring to get this and I would have to swat people away with a stick. And I know that a lot of people are going to those landing pages because I have data, right, that shows that people are going there. It's nowhere near as compelling as I thought. And so I think the question that I have about my challenge is like, is my program just not well designed to convert to group coaching because it's based on something people take very personally, like resume stuff and things like that? Or is it something about the way my group coaching program is set up that is preventing people from wanting to seeing the ROI? So that, I only started group coaching maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. I'm in my 4th cohort. It's like pretty new. And an average cohort only has like 5 or 6 people in it. And I have to do a LinkedIn Live. I have to bug my friend to send out a newsletter to his like million people on his email list because he's a buddy of mine. And I still don't get that many people. So is it people don't want this? Or is it something about the program? Like that's the thing I'm thinking about now because it's more work than I thought to do the group coaching. And honestly, I could just, if I'm only going to make $600 or $700 off of one group coach client and I'm going to make $3,000 off a one-on-one client, there's a ratio there of like, I need to have at least a certain number of people before the math just doesn't work out. So I think that's what I'm doing is I'm trying to reach out to people who have group coaching programs and like what's worked for you, buy them coffee or DoorDash them some Chipotle burrito or whatever they want in order to have some time and walk me through what did their journey look like when they were early on in group coaching? What did they learn that I can learn from them? I don't need their secrets and their tactics. I want to know like, how did you start and what were the tactics that worked well for you? So is there an episode of Career Coaching Secrets that goes into group coaching? I should go look. I didn't find one, but
Yeah, well, I can actually introduce you to one person in particular that I remember that only does group coaching.
Mhm.
She was able to scale it pretty quickly in just a couple of months. So I feel like maybe she's going to be a great person to reach out to. And yeah, I'm gonna send that to you. Yeah, I appreciate the challenge that you shared. My final question for you is also thinking of other coaches that are going to find this answer valuable. So for coaches who are looking to scale their impact, and in a way you're kind of looking to do the same thing too, because you mentioned you want to do more clients versus do 3 clients and get more money. You just want to keep it at 25 hours, but you still want to be able to make a big impact. What advice would you give to these coaches who are trying to scale their impact?
I think it depends on where they're at in their journey, right? If a lot of the people listening are at the point where they don't feel like they've dialed in their market, then I think there's like probably 7 questions for them to think about. It's like, what keeps my ideal client awake at night? Like unable to fall asleep, what do they secretly desire the most? Is there a built-in bias to the way they make decisions? Who else has tried selling to this person even though they know they have a problem but weren't successful? And where do those people congregate? For me, that's certain podcasts, blind Reddit, and then, getting PR. And so once I answered those questions, now I am very targeted on the types of podcasts I want to join. And this one's a little bit of an exception because I want to be around other coaches and help other coaches, not just help tech clients. But if you can answer those questions, then it's like talk to the people who work with you and understand what benefits they receive that maybe you didn't even think about. And then use experiments. You have to kind of come into this with a beginner's mind and say, pretend you don't know half of what you think you know and just start tracking things. The scientific method is going to work for you. It's never not going to work as humans are involved. We're illogical. We do weird things that people don't expect. So you have to track this stuff as long as your customers are human beings. So let science help you. Like Amazon is ridiculously profitable because of A/B experiments. Like most tech companies are. And so if it works to make billionaires richer, it will work for you as well. You just need to start tracking things and see what works. And then when something surprises you, like lean into that and figure out what's working well. That's what's worked for me. It's not because I'm smarter than somebody. That's not why. It's just because I have had a whole lot of coaching chats. Gosh, how many have I had? Like, I don't even know. Just like a crazy amount. It's been like, what's my analytics say? I've had 476 intro calls. Right. And so and my close rate's not even 50%. It's like 47% right now, 44% for cold intros.
Still pretty good.
Yeah. But there's a lot of no's in there. In fact, if I have a close rate by month that I show people, and it was pretty crappy, like in the summer last year. And then I found a sales coach and I said, this person feels like they understand me. I joined their group program. And then my close rate went from like 25%, up to like 75%. And then I had to raise my rates again. So, you're not born knowing what to do. You're in coaching because you believe people can help. You can help other people. That means other people can help you too.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that, Brian. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for the amazing advice. And thank you for all the other advice you've shared. I feel like some coaches are going to find this very useful. For those in the tech industry who are looking to work or connect with Brian, they can look you up on LinkedIn, Brian Pulliam. And just to double check, what is the website?
It's refactorcoaching.com.
Refactorcoaching.com. We'll put that in our description. So the editor will put that in description and people will be able to find it easily. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for coming to the show.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing I'm add to the notes for the editor. I don't have a lot of content on my webpage because it's just a crappy landing page with a button on it. The best way people can get a sense of what it would be like to work with me would be 2 things. Search on my name, Brian Pulliam, in iTunes and Spotify because there's a lot of podcast episodes. 2, go to my LinkedIn page. So that's whack Brian K. Pulliam. So it's like linkedin.com, whack Brian K. Pulliam. If you will find a lot of articles. Unfortunately, there's another Brian Pulliam in Albuquerque, New Mexico, who's in jail for murdering 2 people. That's not me. That's a different Brian Pulliam. I don't have a neck tattoo. People might be listening to this audio, but Rexhen can confirm I have no neck tattoo. I'm not in jail, I promise. Websites, podcasts, and LinkedIn, those are the best places to learn more about me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.